the practice of zeal and perseverance, the virya paramita. What do you think, Subhuti? If there are as many Ganges rivers as there are grains of sand in the river Ganges, will these rivers be very numerous? Exceedingly numerous, my lord. Supposing there were these innumerable rivers, how immeasurable would be their grains of sand! And yet, Subhuti, if a good and pious disciple, either man or woman, should bestow as alms an amount of the seven treasures equal to those grains of sand, would the merit that would accrue to him or her be a considerable blessing and merit? A very considerable merit, my lord. Subhuti, if another disciple, after studying and observing even one stanza of this scripture, should explain it to others, his blessing and merit would be greater. Moreover, Subhuti, if any disciple in any place should teach even one stanza of this scripture, that place would become sacred ground, and would be held in reverence, and would be enriched by offerings from gods, devas, and spirits, as though it was a sacred pagoda or temple. How much more sacred would the place become if a disciple studied and observed the whole of this scripture? Be assured, Subhuti, that such a disciple will succeed in the attainment of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, and the place where this scripture is reverenced will be like an altar consecrated to Buddha or to one of his honored disciples. The Lord Buddha continued, Subhuti, should there be any good pious disciple, man or woman, who in his zeal to practice charity is willing to sacrifice his life in the morning, or at noontide, or in the evening, on as many occasions as there are grains of sand in the river Ganges, even if these occasions recur for 100,000 myriad kalpas, would his blessings and merit be great? It would be great indeed, Lord Buddha. Supposing, Subhuti, another disciple should observe and study this scripture in pure faith, his blessing and merit would be greater. And if still another disciple, besides observing and studying this scripture, should zealously explain it to others and copy it and circulate it, his blessing and merit would be far greater. In other words, Subhuti, this scripture is invested with a virtue and power that is inestimable, illimitable, and ineffable. The Tathagata elucidates this scripture only to those disciples who are earnestly and perseveringly seeking the perfect realization of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi and attaining the bodhisattva stages of compassion that characterize the Mahayana. As disciples become able to zealously and faithfully observe and study the scripture, explain it to others, and circulate it widely, the Tathagata will recognize and support them until they shall succeed in the attainment of its inestimable, illimitable, and wonderful virtues. Such disciples will share with the Tathagata its burden of compassion and its reward of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. And why, Subhuti, is this promise limited to the Mahayana disciples? It is because the Hinayana disciples have not yet been able to free themselves from such arbitrary conceptions of phenomena as one's own selfhood, other personalities, living beings, and a universal self, and therefore are not yet able to faithfully and earnestly observe and study and explain this scripture to others. Listen, Subhuti. Wherever this scripture shall be observed and studied and explained, that place will become sacred ground, to which countless devas and angels will bring offerings. Such places, however humble they may be, will be reverenced as though they were famous temples and pagodas, to which countless pilgrims will come to offer worship and incense. And over them the devas and angels will hover like a cloud, and will sprinkle upon them an offering of celestial flowers.